Welcome to the 6 secrets to becoming a in-demand, highly effective, sought-after teacher, healer, or leader. Mary, I'm just going to have you hide. Oh, there we go. Non-video participants. Okay, I think we're good. Yay! So welcome. So good to see you guys jumping on here. We have so much to jump in. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Morag. All right, so we're talking about the 6 keys, the 6 skills, the 6 must-haves. This is a formula that I have kind of reverse engineered in my life, in my teaching career. I've been teaching for 20 years. I'm going to jump on and give you a little bit more insight about me. Okay, there we go. All right, so just let me know that you can see this. I believe you guys can. It looks like we're good to go on the screen. 6 keys to becoming an in-demand, highly effective teacher, healer, or leader. And I'm so excited because I've done these slides. I've been pouring into these, and I love it. It's such a creative outlet, and I'm really inspired by this content. So let's jump right in. First of all, welcome. Thank you so much. I want to inspire you, invite you to practice presence. So always when I start these, even if it's an online course, an online masterclass, we always start with an invocation. So just take a moment, turn off your phone, turn off other apps, turn off notifications, shut down all the other windows that you might have going. Let's just take a few breaths together, open our mind to receive. And if you want, you can grab a piece of paper and a pen and really drop in for some note taking, because I do have some good statistics and info for you guys today. So let's take a couple deep breaths together. Do also let me know in the chat box that you can hear me, because I'm working with a new microphone over here. Just want to make sure that we are all good. All right, let's take a big inhale together. And exhale. And you can feel free to uncross the legs, feel the feet on the earth, even close the eyes, inhaling from the soles of the feet all the way up through the crown. And exhaling. And one more full body breath, inhale. And exhale. Take a moment, place one hand on your heart and the other hand on top of that. And simply tune into your Dharma, your greatest intention. Please start with an embodiment practice, start with a grounding, centering practice. What is really your purpose on this planet? And not to be too dramatic, but that's what we're up against. Why are you here? What are the gifts that you have to give in this lifetime? What are your passions? What really lights you up? Who are you most called to serve? Honing in on that bullseye. Get specific. Choose one thing that you're most interested in. One thing, one topic that you're most passionate about, one population that you're most inspired to serve. Connecting to your deepest heart of hearts. And let's take a sound of Om together. Inhale. Om. You can gently open your eyes. So much better. Always good to have a grounding, centering practice, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. So why are you here? One of the biggest things that I hear from yoga teachers, my students, my clients, therapists, is holding back out of insecurity, out of fear, out of self-doubt. So I know this. I just want to normalize this, that I am up against I'm up against this too. You know, every single time I reach out into a new format, like I'm getting ready to do a mastermind event on Saturday, or even putting together this webinar slide, these webinar slides. Usually I'm live on video with you guys, which I love to be too, but I get nervous, I get insecure. I try to come up with excuses of how to get out of it. So I know all those inner voices and I'm still up against those. The key is, and we're going to talk so much about this right now, this is not about you, but this is about you. This is about you being in service. This is about you showing up in the biggest way that you can to serve life on this planet. So I'm going to talk to you about getting out of your insecurity, breaking through fear, breaking through self-doubt, also how to become more sought after so that your classes are filled, your client roster is filled, and you're not struggling hand to mouth, month to month. And I know that game too. I lived that for 15 years, and it's only been in the last 5 years that I've been able to launch out of that model and scale my business. So, you know, if you follow me for any length of time, this is a huge passion of mine. We're diving into this even more deeply, how you can show up in excellence and the specific skills and strategies that you need to do, steps that you need to take. Also, I hear a lot of people lacking direction or clarity. So perhaps you have a lot of different projects on your plate. That's a big one. That's so big. That's so common. And we want to help narrow down and focus. So you really nail that one thing, and then you nail that, you can scale that, you can build your business. That's your own personal brand of practical magic. Then we can build off of that. Ensuring that your work is effective and life-changing. I know you guys are altruistic. I know you're here in service, or you wouldn't be on this webinar right now. So you have hearts of gold. You are deeply inspired to serve life on this planet. And we want to make sure that your work is truly life-changing, that it's really affecting your students and your clients and making those lasting changes and shifts that move the needle in their lives. I also hear, again, this overwhelm, not sure what to focus on, not just in your business, but also in your teaching. So it's very common to, we don't have to, there's such a emphasis these days on content creation and pumping out new stuff. And that is actually a myth. What we want to do is clarify our teaching, come up with some real systems and clear pillars that people can follow, simplify, and simplify to amplify. That's such a huge motto for me these days. And I also know you're here because you want to do your Dharma. You're already doing your Dharma, but we want to help you do it in a way that's more effective and that's also allowing you to thrive. So again, you're not struggling hand to mouth and month to month. And there are proven strategies of how to do this. So who am I? For those of you that are new, my name's Ashley Turner. I'm a yoga meditation teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years. Oh my God. I'm like in denial. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist here in Los Angeles. I am a presenter, and one of my greatest genius zones is being a facilitator. And what that means is in the room, in my trainings, in my live events, and also online, and hopefully we'll have time for Q&A today, to really facilitate with people one-on-one or in a group environment. That's being able to help people break through in the moment, create breakthrough exercises, rituals, spontaneous experiences that help shapeshift and transmute, particularly psyche, so that we're really creating those shifts. Also, I am the founder of Yoga Psyche Soul, which I'm going to talk more about. This is an innovative training that fuses yoga, meditation, shadow work, depth psychology, and neuroscience. 6-month online immersive training designed for yoga teachers, psychology professionals, wellness professionals, coaches. We've got a lot of health coaches, nutritionists, chiropractors, physicians, nurses, and former or future psychology students. There's a lot of people who are really tuning in to this integration of yoga and psychology. Maybe you got your bachelor's in psychology, then you never did anything with it. You found yoga, you realized, oh my gosh, it's so psychological. Maybe you're a yoga teacher and you realize, hey, I think I want to go back to school and get my master's and become a therapist or do a coaching certification program. This training is for you. This is also, we have a lot of educators, a lot of medical professionals in the training, and I'm going to talk more about that. Here we go. The 6 keys to becoming, here we go. I'm like, wait, where are they? Okay. The 6 keys to being a in-demand, excellent, effective teacher, healer, or leader. So what you're going to learn, the number 1 skill required to amplify your work, the top 3 traits your students and clients want and need, what they're looking for in a wellness professional, how to build your one-of-a-kind brand around your gifts. In other words, you build your business from the inside out. You build your brand from the inside out. You build your life from the inside out. It all comes from inside. The 6-step proven formula for becoming an in-demand, effective, highly successful teacher, healer, or leader. By the way, I can see this chat box right here. So if you have any questions as we go along, please do just jump into the chat box and pop any questions in there. Here are these 6 steps. Number 1, align. Number 2, empty. 3, surf. That's a fun one. 4, create, connect, and then 6, elevate. So let's dive in. Number 1, teach by transmission, align. The first step in becoming an effective teacher is that you align with spirit. We always start by turning in. This is the most important aspect of your work, is that you are rooted in spirit. What do I mean by that? I mean that as human beings, we are as above, so below. We know that we are the holographic universe. We are spirit incarnate. We are spirit having a human experience. So you as a teacher are showing up. It's not you doing the teaching, the leading, the healing. It's God, it's Goddess, it's spirit, it's consciousness, however you describe it. But when we open ourselves up and we align, we take the time every single day to align with spirit, we can lay down our burdens. This is the biggest key to breaking through your fear, your insecurity, your self-doubt. When you align with spirit, you are a vessel of spirit. And our work is to strengthen your vessel so that every single time you show up in your class, with your clients, with your coaching clients, your psychotherapy clients, whoever it is that you're serving, your kids, your husband, your partner, every place in your life where you show up, but especially in your dharma, in your profession, you open yourself up as a vehicle for spirit. And this is the key right here, the Yoga Sutra 1.23. Ishvara Pranidhan. Ishvara Pranidhan means that Ishvara is a word for the god or goddess of your own understanding. Ish means individual. So it's your chosen deity or connection with spirit. Maybe it's nature, maybe it's the heart, maybe it's pure consciousness. Your connection with spirit. You dedicate, you devote, and you surrender to the divine. It is not about you, and we're going to talk more about that. So one key tip, and I just to give a little shout out to Mary. Mary's our Yoga Psyche Soul program manager, and this is Mary right here in this beautiful pose. Stunning. So just wanted to give you a little face for the name there. That's Mary, opening up to spirit. So Ishvara Pranidhan, dedicate, devote, and surrender to spirit. All of your work is offered up in spirit. So that whether you're doing a launch, you're launching an online program, or you're putting out a retreat, or you're teaching a big group class, or you're going into an intense couples therapy session, or whatever it might be, you start by stopping, pause. Before you do anything, turn inward and offer it up. Now, there's a very simple technique, and I've talked about this before, which I do. And oh, I'm going to go back to that in just a second. Okay. Which I do, which is to start with a prayer. So before I get on any of these master classes, before I walk in to teach, now when I teach, I actually do this in person because I don't mind doing it in front of the room now, but if it's too much for you, you just do it silently inside. If you're not quite ready to stake your claim verbally out loud to everyone in the room, then you can just do it internally. So what I do is just literally say a prayer, and I bring everyone in the room together, hands together, and I literally say, everyone come to your own intention, connect to your purpose, your prayer, your intention for being here. I give them a minute to do that. And then I say something like, may spirit flow through me. I open myself as a vessel for spirit for whatever words, movements, insight wants to come through and is most needed for the people in this room today. May it come through me in a way that can be heard, that can be understood, and that can be in the highest service for all. For each and every one of us, our time here is to connect to our deepest truth and our highest good. Very simple prayer, takes 25 seconds, and you offer it up. And it really peels off that layer of any kind of self-doubt, insecurity. You just open yourself as a vessel now. I really like to feel that through the crown of the head, pouring all the way down and out and through my heart, and opening myself as a channel through my spine. So I have an exercise for you really quickly. Take a moment, close your eyes for just a second. And I'd love for you to feel into one teacher on this planet that has been one of the greatest influences in your life. Who is that teacher? Choose one person. There probably are several, but choose one person that has deeply inspired you. And maybe you would even say changed your life. And call that person into this room with you and feel into, who are they? What are 3 qualities that they hold, that they carry? What are the 3 top qualities that have been the most impactful for you? And to have those 3 qualities in your mind, now I would like you to feel, how does this person make you feel when you're in their presence? How do you feel in their presence? What is evoked within you from this teacher? And then when you're ready, you can give a little thank you to that person wherever they are in the world. Jump into the chat box and let's hear some of your answers. So you don't have to say who the person is. If you want to say it, that's fine. But jump into the chat box and name 3 qualities that you most admire, and how do they make you feel? How do they really make you feel? So I want to hear your answers. This is such a great exercise because this is that reverse engineering of really thinking about who have been the most effective teachers. Presence, dedication, loving, heartfelt, generous, honest, gentle, serene, wise, uplifted, inspired, supported. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Mary, get some, grab some of these screenshots. This is so great. My dad, I can't even read all of them. They're going so fast. Loved, safe, joyous. I love that. Healthy, energized, out of my comfort zone. Embodied, grace, light. Oh, thank you, Marianne. Committed, service, focused. So awesome. Okay, keep it going. If you haven't jumped in there, please, please jump on over there and tell us 3 qualities that this person has and also how they make you feel. So most people are obviously naming extremely positive, but a lot of love, a lot of self-confidence, a lot of acceptance, peace, grounded, embodied, so awesome. Okay, so great. So we're gonna move on from this, but keep jumping into that chat box and add them in because we wanna see. So first, you feed your spirit. Feed spirit first. Marie Forleo has a great quote that says, create and then consume. Our society is in such a consumptive nature of consuming information, consuming, social media, consuming the news, consuming products, this conspicuous consumption. Pause. The great teachers, the great spirituality, the great transformation is less. Less is always more. Start by going inward. We're going to talk so much about that. Feed your spirit first. Meditate, breathe, chant, pray, whatever your sadhana is. But I highly recommend that you create a specific sadhana that you get in the habit of doing every single day. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It can be 10 or 15 minutes, but please do your sadhana so that you are anchored in spirit. You are offering yourself at the beginning of the day to spirit, and everything flows forth from that, including everything in your career. Number 2, empty. Be a clear channel. Now, in my Yoga Psyche Soul training, this is really the heart of the training. It's, of course, connecting to spirit and all of the spiritual practices, the deep sadhana. Every single week in Yoga Psyche Soul, you get a new video sadhana that's very intricate, that's about an hour long. And the emphasis of this program is to clear your instrument, to strengthen that vessel for your spirit. And in order to be a clear channel for spirit, to really empty out, it means that we have to do our inner work. If we don't do our inner work, our own personal shadow work, which, by the way, is endless. It's not like we just get to stop doing it because, oh, we, did a 300-hour teacher training, or we've been in therapy for 10 years, because shit is always coming up in our lives. Stuff is always happening. We constantly need to process. So much of our practice, our sadhana, is a processing plant. We are just processing again and again. If we don't clear our channel and do our inner work, we tend to project onto our students and our clients. And the truth is, your work is not about you. It's not even about your creativity or your skill. It's about how deeply you can be in service. It's about them. It's about your students and your clients, how purely you can show up for them in selfless service. So we want to, this is a great quote from my teacher, Gregory Bach used to say 4 things, and it really came from Taoism: open and empty, patience and trust. I love these 4 words. Honestly, if you take nothing else from this training, open and empty, patience and trust. Open and empty means, and it implies, there is a less doing and more being quality, but it does take effort to empty ourselves out. It is a process, emotional processing, mental processing, doing the physical practice that we need to do to clear. I know that if I'm going to have a really productive day, usually I'm on a spin bike or running, doing some serious cardiovascular work and weight training in the morning, or yoga practice in the morning before 9 a.m. so that my body is anchored, it's alive, it's ready to go. And my mind is clear. I have flushed out the dross, the amma in the yoga tradition that weighs us down. So shadow work, psychodynamics, cleaning up your side of the street, clearing your core wounds, healing ancestral karmas, it's not about you. Now, the benefit of doing your inner work, and this is a big sort of soapbox that I get on, is you're empowered. You build confidence when you do your inner work. Why? Because you shatter shame. You shatter shame. You are one of the biggest things I teach in Yoga Psyche Soul, and this is in the chakras in module 2, the 3rd chakra, our power center. When we're empowered, when we're in our power, we have nothing to prove and we have nothing to hide. We don't hide. there are so many ways that you as a healer, as a teacher, as a leader are going to be called out. If you're going to step out in the world and do things, and especially do things big, you will be called out, and it's fine. It's part of the process. We're all triggering each other. We are all running out our stuff on each other. This is the nature of the game. When you can stay centered and not get so rattled and pushed off your center, that's when you're an effective teacher, because you teach to what's actually happening in the room. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So I've had several moments, actually quite traumatic, in my teaching career, where I've been in a group environment. One time this woman just went off on me in front of the whole class, like literally went off on me. And I was sitting there fighting back tears. She was upset with the way that I had adjusted someone else in class, and it was triggering for her. And yes, there was some truth to that. I could have been more skillful. I could have been more subtle, more careful. I still felt okay about the way that it went down. But I also could see, I should say, and I also could see that she had her own stuff going on. So there was a lot of projection onto me with what was going on. And there were definitely, wisdom nuggets of truth that I needed to listen to and learn from, right? For sure. Another time I was teaching with a colleague, and this colleague kind of threw me under the bus in front of the whole class. And it's like they sort of ganged up on me. And it actually was a very traumatic situation, but I really learned from it. It was extremely humbling. And I had to sit there and galvanize my strength and my power so that I wasn't defensive. I wasn't blocking what they were saying. I wasn't ignoring it. I wasn't writing it off. But I also wasn't getting so sucked into shame and defeated, cowering in a corner, right? Because I could say, you know what, there's truth to both sides. I'm not all good. I'm not all bad. This isn't all true. This isn't all wrong and right. So we have to be able, as leaders, as teachers, to hold that center. And that means that we fully embrace our goodness, our magic, our power, our skills, our talents, and we fully embrace our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, our shadow, what we don't see. Very important to have a mentor, peer supervision, or mentor supervision, that someone is helping you work through this on a consistent basis, because it always comes up. Every single program you run, every teacher training you do, every client you work with, most likely something is going to come up. So building these skills so that you're not being run by the psychodynamics, but you're using them effectively as a teaching tool. This is becoming extraordinarily skillful as a facilitator, but it means that you have to do your own inner work. So this is one of my favorite quotes: people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves. That means your students and clients can only meet you as deeply, they can only go as deeply as you yourself have gone. So this is an endless journey, and it's awe-inspiring. It's amazing, and it's so liberating. Next, number 3, running 2 tracks. I call it surfing. Now, this is something I teach a lot in Yoga Psyche Soul. This is where we get to master our mind. All of Module 3 is dedicated to meditation, mindfulness, and neuroscience, getting extremely skillful at working with our mind. And do jump into the chat box and let me know if you have any questions. What do I mean by running 2 tracks? Well, those of you that are in Yoga Psyche Soul know exactly what we're talking about. Mastering the outer world, which is the skill set, I'm going to talk about that, teaching to what's in the room, leading to what's in the room, but simultaneously, this is the 2 tracks, like a train track. You're on that outer level, and you're also just as keenly aware on the inner level. You're mastering your inner world. So you're able to surf between these 2 dimensions simultaneously. You get a lot of training in this as a psychotherapist, and this is something that I have now woven into my yoga teacher training or facilitation training for people that are coaches, that are therapists, that are healers, teachers, leaders, that you're able to run these 2 tracks simultaneously. So managing the outer world, you are able to skillfully, of course, teach. Now, I would say most teacher trainings and facilitation trainings are teaching this. How do you manage the outer world? How do you work with what's in the room? If you're in a yoga class, it's the sequencing, it's the music, it's the alignment, it's the creativity. Of course, it's holding space. It's making, adjustments, making sure that no one's going to hurt themselves. You're managing the circumstances in the outer room, in the outer world. Now, the other dimension, the underbelly or the underworld, the inner world, mastering the inner world means that while you're teaching and while you're attending to all of that outer stuff that's requires a lot of skill and detail and attention, you are simultaneously observing, monitoring, and processing your inner world. Why? Because it's not about you, right? Remember, and if you haven't done a lot of your inner work and that shadow work of level 1, level 2, step 1, step 2, then you're going to have a lot more coming up for you in your inner world. But if you have that skill set of shadow work, you're able to identify when you're getting triggered, why you're getting triggered, and most importantly, you recognize that you are using your instrument, your body, mind, spirit, psyche, as a tool for teaching in the room. In other words, your work, you're teaching to the now. You are present moment awareness. You are monitoring and processing your inner experience. As a psychotherapist, we know that we share what's called a collective unconscious. There is a layer of consciousness that we all share, that all of us right now in this masterclass are sharing a field of awareness. We are drawn to something together. We have a shared similar interest. I am somehow picking up on what you guys are putting down. And certainly when you're in the room with people, that is palpable. That is the nonverbal communication. That is the aura, the energetic, the frequency that people are emitting. You and your instrument, body, mind, spirit, psyche, are picking up on that. And so you want to be able, this is a whole other level of skill set that we really focus on in Yoga Psyche Soul. You are aware of what's percolating and coming up for you in the room so that you can then speak to this. And you can name it in the room, and you can actually start to use this material in the room. A good psychotherapist, hopefully you're going to a psychotherapist who is doing this all the time. They're able to name and say, oh, I'm noticing that I'm feeling a little, congestion, tension in my chest. Are you feeling that too? Because a lot of times as a therapist, we're picking up on what our client is experiencing. And we can use that as a tool to identify and reflect back to them. I'm curious, is this something that you're experiencing too? A lot of the stuff that percolates for us is not even ours. Hopefully, you're becoming more and more subtle in your awareness and more subtle in your perception, your field of perception, this is where our intuition and that sixth sense comes in, that you're able to immediately name it and use it. Excuse me, I'm just getting a drink for 1 second. So I'm super passionate about this. As you can tell, I'm on a bit of a soapbox. And why? This will amplify your teaching more than almost anything else. Because, and the person that I saw doing this the most skillfully, and when I initially started to recognize this as a tool, especially in the yoga room, was Seane Corn. Seane is one of my best friends. She's one of my greatest mentors. She's one of the best yoga teachers on the planet. She's extremely intuitive, and she's extremely articulate, as many of you know. And so when I was a youngster, like 22, and I was going to her yoga class, and she was the first person that would be able to name what was coming up in the room. And this is what I mean, teach to the now. The time that I saw this come into high relief was right after 9/11, right after September 11th, 2001. everybody was fucked up. Everybody was in shock. Everybody was traumatized. Everyone was pouring into yoga classes. And I was here in Santa Monica to try to even get some peace and make sense of this world that was like imploding around us. And Sean was from Jersey. She's a New Yorker. And so she was deeply affected by 9/11. And she's a fierce spirit, right? We would come into that yoga room and she was able to name. I'm getting like teared up right now. I was just thinking about it. Because it was so healing. She was able to name what everyone in the room was feeling in ways that we weren't even ready to name ourselves. And that is what's happening in the yoga room. That's what's happening in the psychotherapy room. That's what's happening if people are hiring you as a health coach, as a nutritionist. They may not realize the psychological connection of what they're showing up for. They may not really think they're coming to you as a chiropractor or Reiki or yoga or nutrition for a physical reason. Many people are not aware of the mind-body connection, but you are. And you are teaching from this skill set where you're able to name what is happening in the room in such a way that they can actually see it sometimes for the first time. So Sean would lay it down. She was naming things and so articulate, scary things like the rage that we felt, the hatred that we felt, the deep heartbreak and guttural shock and trauma that we felt, that we often, most of us, try to minimize or anesthetize. And she wasn't letting us have it. She could feel it so deeply in the room, she was pulling it out of us and then laying it bare on the floor for us all to see. And it was so healing psychologically because here we are as a collective, working through this as a tribe, connecting and beginning to make meaning of it. And this is what will amplify your teaching. That is a very important quote, how to make meaning of what is happening. So that no matter what is coming up in the room, you're not afraid and you don't shy away from it. I can tell you in Yoga Psyche Soul and in all of my retreats, and trainings, shit comes up. They're deeply emotional and psychological material comes up. And this is why I went back to school to get my master's in psychology, because I saw it happening in myself on the yoga mat. So when I feel someone in the room getting charged, getting triggered on the verge of a breakdown, I will often begin to orient. Now, I'm not talking about any group class or a big conference or something where we're not in this shared agreement. I'm talking about a workshop or a training where everybody's there and they know they're going deep. I will reorient the curriculum around that person and begin to facilitate with them in the room. Often, and we'll talk about this in a moment, pulling in spontaneous inspiration and ritual so that you allow the now to guide you. Your creativity is awake, it's fresh, and you're using your inner experience as the beacon, as the guidepost of where to go next. There's so much more to say about this. Yes, you can rewatch this. Diana, this is, you will get a replay. So moving on, because I could go down that rabbit hole for a long time. Step 4, create. Now, you as a teacher, in order for you to become highly effective and skillful and up-level your teaching, your presentation skills, your facilitation skills, you must start to master a multidimensional approach to your teaching. You have to ask, who am I teaching? And how do they learn? So we have to get creative and access our creativity. I'm going to give you some interesting statistics here. How we learn. Now, this is called pedagogy. This is a big word, pedagogy. I should have had it up here on the slide. This is a word that I learned and I've really been studying deeply with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. I'm in a 2-year meditation and mindfulness certification teacher training program with them, which is amazing. Talk about next level. And Jack kept using this word pedagogy. And I was like, what is this pedagogy? Like, I heard it, but I don't really know what it means. What it means is how you teach, the different ways that you teach. So those of you who are educators, you're probably well aware of this word. There are many different ways that students learn. Visual learners make up 65% of the population. I'm a very visual learner. I would say I'm most visual. So I love, as you can see, these PowerPoint presentations, the manuals that I create. I love graphs, whiteboards, PowerPoint presentations, photos, images, and also visual learners have a spatial sense. So I have a very keen aesthetic, and like annoys the hell out of my boyfriend because I'm always feng shuiing things because of my spatial sort of sensitivity. But I'm very visual. So you want to be presenting things visually. Now, if you're teaching yoga, or maybe you're a psychotherapist office, you may not have a whiteboard or be busting out PowerPoints in the middle of a 90-minute yoga class. But what you can do is begin to bring in visualizations, begin to bring in imagery, metaphor. Those are all tools that are going to really help visual learners grasp, grok the concepts that you're using. Second way we learn, auditory. So we're doing auditory right now. Lecture, group chat, oral presentations, the cueing in a yoga class, the cueing or the word choice, I should add that here, word choice, word smithing that you use as a teacher or as a presenter. Very important. Group discussion. So this, even in the chat box, that's more of the auditory, verbal. That's 30% of the population. And then finally, kinesthetic. Kinesthetic learners, they need embodiment practices. These are the people that when when I do my teacher training, there's always one or two people in the teacher training group that cannot sit down for more than an hour. Like they're constantly getting up, they're walking outside, they're going to the bathroom, they're standing in the back of the room if we're doing like a 2-hour lecture or dialogue, something. They just have to move around all the time. I'm somewhat kinesthetic, of course. Embodiment practices are huge. I used to, when I was getting my master's, I literally would have to go to the back of the room and start doing yoga because I would go nuts sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day. My head was about to explode, even though I love the lecture and dialogue. Like I'm a super visual auditory learner as well, but I definitely had to attend to that kinesthetic. So this is where you want to bring in different kinds of embodiment practices, not just asana, different kinds of ritual. Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's jumping around, maybe it's an exercise where you get people up and moving around the room and connecting with each other, role playing, group work, team projects, all of these ways that you engage. And really, this is what's going to help the material land. If you want to be an effective teacher or healer or leader, we have to make sure that what it is we're presenting is actually landing and taking root for people, right? So 3 ways that we learn. Patience and trust. This is the last quote from my teacher, Gregory Bach. The first one was open and empty. The second is patience and trust. So how do we develop patience and trust? Trust your creativity. Trust your intuition. You have to stay patient. It means that sometimes you don't know where you're going and you have to sit with that unknown and let it be sparked, let it come through you. Okay, so tools for this: myth, storytelling, archetypal psychology, embodiment practices, as I mentioned, all kinds of different facilitation skills, which we want to get very adept at, and also weaving in scientific proof. So you're bringing in science, you're really hitting people on the right and left brain, this neural integration. Ritual, as I mentioned, very, very powerful. 5th, emotional attunement, connecting with your students, with your clients. You see them, you hear them, you know them, and you're reflecting that to them. You're reflecting who they really are to themselves. So this is your intuition. You cultivate what's called resonance. You are attuned to what's happening in the room. You're teaching to the now. You're waking up really fresh moment to moment and addressing what each person needs. So we want to give them what they want. We want to sell them what they want. If they came to yoga thinking that they want a level 2, 3 hardcore yoga practice, give them what they want. Give them a strong asana practice, but then also weave in what they need. So you're creating a sacred space and you're working those various levels, whether they realize it or not. It's that Trojan horse image that you're tuning in. You're always speaking to your audience. You're very aware of who your audience is. And you're holding them in what this is a huge tenet right here of how we work in Yoga Psyche Soul. You are holding your students, your clients, your customers in unconditional positive regard. You are training yourself to see their light and you're blowing on those embers and you're reflecting that light, their goodness, their wholesomeness, their basic goodness, who they are. You're reflecting that to them. That is the biggest wound that we all hold, our own version of I'm not good enough. And when you have a teacher that's in front of you, and that's what was coming up for me when I thought of who's the teacher that I most admire, two people came up, Rod Stryker, Yoga Rupa, and then my teacher, Mona Miller. And also Gregory Bach. I mean, I could name so many, Sean Korn. And the thing about these teachers is they look upon me with great unconditional love, unconditional positive regard. They are seeing my goodness. They're reflecting my beauty. It's not that we don't have room for improvement and we're not shying away from that, but we are deeply connected and bolstering that sense of self within others. So our creativity and confidence is strengthened by great teachers. And that's what we want to represent in our classes. Number 6, elevate. So one of the reasons that people choose to come back to teachers again and again and choose who to lay down, you know, I just spent $12,000 this year on private coaching, high performance coaching with Brendon Burchard's team. And I went to Tony Robbins and I love him. You know, I've been going to all of these, you know, mastery trainings and business trainings and really my own self-improvement because I want to elevate my game. I know that I need to continue to rise up so that I can be an inspiration, so that I can be aspirational. But how did I choose to work with Brendon? Because he's aspirational. He really inspires me. He has a beautiful family and home life, but he's so efficient and heartfelt and grounded and connected. And so we choose teachers that we look up to. We choose teachers that are maybe a little further down the path than we are. They've paved the way. And so that's why we're choosing to work with them. So you want to cultivate these skills within yourself, that you are presencing excellence and expertise. You are embodying excellence and, oh, I misspelled that, expertise. Expertise that you are setting yourself up as an expert in the field, and because of your level of skill, because of the level of study that you've done, and you are constantly striving for excellence. So you're prepared, you have lesson plans, you're anticipating who your audience is, you're presencing professionalism on time, you have clear agreements and expectations, and you know your KPIs. KPI, this is a term that I just learned. Those of you that are in business probably know this term. I just learned it this year because I'm a newbie, to all of these business strategy terms. KPI is key performance indicators. Key performance indicators. So you could have KPIs in your classroom. How do you know, what are the key performance indicators that your work is working? You know, if you're a therapist, one of the things that we look for is that eventually we want our clients to not need to come back to us. We want to set them free. We're not there to keep them coming to therapy for, 15 years. We want them to become resilient and self-reliant. That's a KPI. We want people to have improvement in their general well-being. If they come in depressed, hopefully after working with us for some time, they're not depressed or they're less depressed. They're suffering less. Maybe in your yoga class, it's that people's sense of self, or you can see a shift in their practice. You can see a shift in their presence. In your business, you want to have KPIs. So this is also this whole 6th step is about business, leadership, productivity. How are you running your ship as a business owner, as a CEO, your company? So what are your internal KPIs? Do you have financial goals that you're meeting? Do you have Do you want to, what do you want? The important thing is that you're setting, you can have anything as a KPI. You want KPIs that are aligned with your goals and your values. So this is being a boss. This is you being a spiritual boss, that you take your business seriously. So you're looking at your whole yoga practice, anything you're doing, whether it's, therapy, healing work, but particularly yoga, it's like therapy, church, and a kick-ass workout. This is going back to that functional medicine approach, that you are addressing your clients, your students from all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So that spiritual is the church, mental, emotional is the psychology, and then the physical is the body. So you as a business owner are looking at, how can I help them? How can I serve them? What are the clear strategies and plans, tools that I can give people on all three of these levels? And then internally, what are my aims? Do I want to lead an international retreat once a year? That's a great goal. I used to have that goal. I'm coming back to that goal, actually, because I've taken off for many years of doing international retreats, but I've been talking to my partner about beginning to do that again. So once a year, we're going to start doing a retreat internationally. My KPI right now is really this Yoga Psyche Soul program, and helping this movement expand and furthering this conversation of yoga and mental health. So what does that look like? That's a big win, to have a summit that has this many people, and we have an Instagram challenge going on today about all vibes anytime, right? And to reach more yoga teachers and clinicians and help them get these tools in a really practical, useful way. So I want to hear from you guys. What are your biggest KPIs? What is one goal for you? Tell me what your big goal is. I'm happy to be, just on this burgeoning industry of yoga and mental health. Thank you all for your work that you're doing in the world. Thank you for your devotion, for your dedication, for all the work that you have already done in the world. The 14 days, Nikki, is from the start date of the program. So the program starts, doors close on Sunday, August 25th, and the course starts on September 1st. And then every Monday from there, you will get your new set of lessons. And, we have so many more things going. We're going to have local meetups happening and a lot of things in the work for this year. This is really going to build out. So check it out. Sign up in the next 30 minutes so that you can get that trauma-informed yoga summit. That is not going to be available anywhere else. And would love to have you inside if you're called, if you feel like this is part of your dharma, if you want to up-level your skill set, your confidence, your efficacy as a teacher. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We go so deeply into these skills. And so grateful. Love you all so much. I'll see many of you on Saturday. Also sign up soon so you can join us on Saturday live, and I can meet you in person, and we can really strategize about your next level, about your business. So grateful. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Namaste.